all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that. No, I mean, like,
you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
Recall this absurdly racist take from Charlie Kirk and the band of buffoons he surrounds himself with.
And she shows me two doctors, both of this within the same practice, same company, hospital. And one was a young white dude and one was a young black dude. And I said, I prefer the young white dude. And this is why. The reason why is not because I'm white, but because we currently live in a historical moment in the West, and particularly in these United States, where I know that both of these guys could be perfectly qualified. But I also know that if there's a chance that one of them was not qualified and was given a free pass, it'd be the black guy.
Now meet Pastor Joel Webbon, the founder of Right Response Ministries in Austin, Texas, who by his own admission wants to bring the Bible into all sectors of public life, including government, politics, the economy, medicine, the arts, and every other facet of modern life you can think of. This is what a man of God passes for on the right wing, and we're just scratching the surface of how demented this man's beliefs are.
A true revival of the American populace in the heart, what it would then look like in the application of the political, it would look like millions of people being deported.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It would look like mothers getting death row for murdering their children.
Wonder where we've heard this talking point before.
As soon as I take the oath of office, I'll terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
They're terrorists. I mean, you have terrorists pouring in at a level that we have not seen, maybe ever. And what they're doing to our country is incredible. They're poisoning our country, and we're going to close up our border, and we're going to deport the people. We're going to get them out.
Our country is being invaded. Following the Eisenhower model, we will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
In case you're unaware, the Eisenhower model Trump mentioned was not only named after a slur against Mexican people, but the incredibly racist and discriminatory program used eerily similar tactics to the SS in Europe during World War II and white supremacist hate mobs in the post-Civil War South, like raiding suspected Mexican-owned businesses and private homes, racial profiling in the streets, ethnic intimidation from the public, and giving law enforcement the legal authority to do whatever they please to their victims. The similarities are not coincidental by any means, and it's no coincidence that Trump has lauded this disastrous piece of policy for years now.
The reason why I have grown to despise democracy is because it's not we the people. It's we the some people. And who are those people? Non-elected officials. And just for the record, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian, and that is the Christian position. Oh my gosh, you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another.
Yes, of course. Women shouldn't be given the right to vote because they'll disobey their husband's wishes and vote for the demonic Dems. This infantilization of women and wholesale dismissal of their equal humanity is flat out disgusting, backwards, and relies solely on centuries of misogynistic lies and stereotypes. Plus, it's still a key tenet of evangelical Christianity.
Where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother, it's from their uncle, it's the men in their lives that love them.
I think there's a lot of people that shouldn't be able to vote, besides just, as it pertains to the 19th Amendment. Democracy has not been great.
It's not to forsake rule, but to rule righteously. And so in that, I said, I want to win. I want Christians to have power, and with that power, I want it to be wielded righteously What does that mean? It means crushing our enemies and rewarding our friends.
Webbon and his allies in the Christian fundamentalist movement aren't even hiding their calls for a Christofascist society anymore, precisely because of how they've been embraced and accepted in the broader Republican Party voter base. If the Republican establishment didn't concede so many policy positions and so much power to these freaks, we could dismiss them as fringe fundamentalist fanatics who deserve criticism, but since their views have entered the mainstream of right-wing politics, we can't ignore them any longer.
It's election night. Chaos is happening. The polls are closing. They go and the volunteers are getting kicked out. But what if we had Christians across America in swing states like Wisconsin that were actually the ones counting the votes and making sure it was happening? What happens is when the polls start to close or chaos unfolds, they're going to kick the volunteers out. You are actually going to be a paid election worker. You're going to be trained by your local municipality. I call this our Trojan horse in. They don't see it coming, but we're going to flood election poll stations across the country with spirit-filled believers.
They're telling us their plan and exactly what they're going to do if they succeed. So it's up to us to protect democracy and not let outside forces unjustifiably disenfranchise even more voters in our country. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports, and or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Calling out elite people in comedy should be the rule of thumb.
I think Donald Trump's hair is actually another creature.
Yeah.
The hair's like going, good night, Donald. Good night, Donald. Here we go.
Maybe it goes out. It goes out and makes money while he's asleep.
There is something about punching down that feels taboo, and punching up is the way to go.
Crack's not really my thing, but if it was, it would be fine if I was on that side.
Wow.
Don Jr.'s on coke.
We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. I'm a very stable genius.
It is very important, the work that the Jordan Kleppers are doing, the work that the Good Liars are doing, the work that our team here at the Turks are doing, and many more.
What he does, he secretly puts the marker on the end of the putter, and then he looks like he's marking it, but really, now the mark is 3 feet closer. That's a way easier putt.
He cheats a lot. That if you cheat at golf, you cheat at life. The saying goes for Donald Trump.